Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing today? I am Twisted Games, and welcome to my first ever review of Process Elimination. Um, it's off the hinge. I just beat this game last night technically, but I think that subvideo won't come out until like the end, like after everything. I think stream might like maybe this weekend, depending how I feel, right? And also with the music playing in the background, I hope you guys do enjoy the video. Um, this music is coming out is by Glitch City. I'll put her link in description. She does remake music of not just of like video games. So I hope you guys check her out in the future. But now, let's talk about this game, right? This review is an interesting game. When I first heard this, this has um similarities with Danganronpa series, which I actually do enjoy the Danganronpa series. I think this series game is great. If you take away the third game, you know, that's a different story. But depending how you feel about that third game or not, you think it's really good, bad, whatever. But the game takes a different approach. I don't know if they're gonna be editor or not, but we're gonna leave this screen right now, and maybe I'll throw an editor too, depending how I feel. I just want to speak my thoughts on the game. But what we have is your main character, Wato Hojo. He is a guy that is he's an apprentice in order to be a detective. Why is that very important? Well, it's very important because on case he's helping investigate, he runs to a guy that they believe is the one who's committing the crime. And so Wato goes and talks to this guy, and being revealed that it is Senior Detective. Now, Senior Detective works in a detective agency. He approaches up to you and he asks you to join because they want Wato, he has no experience in being a detective. They want him to be a investigating the quartering Duke. Which, at that point, before Wato even answers yes or no, Senior Detective basically puts him to sleep and kidnaps him, and then he's gone away. Fast forward, Wato is on a island called Morgue Island, and then he just basically meets the other 12 other characters, well, other than Senior Detective, 12 other characters, and each character in this game has a different, like, personality to them, which is really cool. Like, you have this guy named Workaholic Detective, and all he does is, he's very meticulous. He does everything by the book. He's very thorough. And then you have someone like Downtown Detective who uses social cues in order to solve crimes. Like, usually these people are really high-ranking individuals. And there's one individual detective who you apparently know in the past. As spoiler, I'm not going to do any story spoilers in this part. I may do a spoiler later on as a separate video, but that's a spoiler and stuff. But basically, the whole game is point A to point B on how to catch this quartering Duke. And so that's basically the whole story. You talk to these detectives, and then you're trying to progress throughout the whole campaign of the game, which is 6 chapters long with an ending and epilogue. Now, I had a lot, like I said, my personal experience, I had lots of fun in this game. I thought the game is great. For $40, I put in about 40 hours of content on YouTube, and it's going to be on, when I do the leftover love that part, which I'll talk more about in a bit. Um, so positives and negatives with the game, right? Because we gotta talk when talking about reviewing a game, you gotta extenuate the positive, extenuate the negative, and what the gameplay involves. I think before I go positive negative, let's go talk about the gameplay because the gameplay is very important. Um, there's actually kind of like two small parts of the gameplay in each chapter, at least one of each. One is called the investigation phase, and what happens is when a murder occurs, which by the way, um, in Danganronpa games, each person that you interact with dies. Not everyone dies, but a lot of people die. This game, same thing. A lot of people, some people die, but you're trying to investigate these murders, and so there are 5 set different attributes for each character. There's an inference attribute. There is a analyzation attribute, assist, movement, and then the last one is, I believe, inspect. Inspect. And those 5 are different things. So for instance, movement. Each one to explain. Movement, the higher movement score, the more spread out a walk you can to the nearest to the point. Now, like I said, you can move the longest or the biggest 10. So if someone has a 10, you move most amount of squares. So you have like a 4, you can only move a certain amount of squares. It's like a chessboard instead of like 2D chessboard. And what happens is you can move a certain point, but you can do another action to it. And there's a point where you can have movement, and if you press the square button on my PlayStation 5, that's what I play on my PlayStation 5, you can do a map wide movement, which basically means that you can put that character from one side of the map to the other side. Like, so being east, you can put them on the west side. But if you do that, um, they cannot do another action to it. What I mean another action, if I move a character 1 spot to 5 spots, I can either do an analyzation, an inspection, an assist, or the inference. So that's kind of like your mixed bag of movement. Next thing is easy to explain is what we call the inspection. Now, these numbers are a lot more simpler. It's not from like 10, like 1 to 10. These are only up to a 5. So inspection, a higher than inspection, the more radius they can investigate. So the key points, they can inspect. Not there'll be a question marks that are clues. You have to go and investigate those clues. That's what you inspection. And also, not just that, there are going to be keywords on each of these areas that is signified with a red dot on it. If you put your character over in that area and you inspect it, you get a keyword, and it breaks down more lore into the game, which is important because if you're like a trophy completionist, you have to go and collect every keyword. Keyword can be fleshed out throughout the game, so you don't have to get the keyword, but you try to get keyword as much as possible throughout the game first, because it is a new game plus. So you can, if you skip keywords your first playthrough, you can go ahead and the second one go to keywords again. Like I said, the radius, so the higher number inspection, the more radius you have to inspect keywords and clues. Third one I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about inference. So what inference is used? So inference is kind of used the same as inspection, except for how the inference works is there's going to be a mystery point in each chapter when you do the investigation phase. And then, let's say this mystery point has 9 points. So what's going to happen is you put someone with a high inference on that point, which you're going to be a one space. You have to literally click on inference to go, and instead of making it 9, now it's down. Someone has a 4 inference, make it a 5. So you want to do that, and you want to team up with other people on the mystery point, quicker mystery point. Maybe I lost another mystery point down the line, or In retrospect, you go ahead and try and complete it fast, and you're like, oh crap, I'm running out of time, because one thing the game tells you is that basically you have 9 turns in order for you to solve the case. In this inspection phase, if you don't complete it in these 9 hours, you technically lose. You don't investigate everything, and they do things to make sure that it's not just all you do. You do find the clue, do the clue, do the inference on the mystery point. Oh, there's another one. They throw things in there to make things each level diverse in its own way. And then you have the assist goes along with the inference. And what it does is, let's say we have that 9, someone has a 4, and you're 5. You have it, someone who assists, who's a high assist, like maybe like in 6. So instead of just doing -4, you do 4 plus 6 makes it -10. So instead of being like -5, now it's like gone. Your 10's over 9, and now you unlock the mystery point, which is a clue to help you out to solve the case. And the last one, like the inference and assist coming together, the last point is the analyzation. How analyzation works is you solve clue, you get clues, and let's say that there is analyzation of like a 4. So you need someone with the analyzation of a 4 or higher in order to solve that clue. And these clues often reveal other mystery points, which is key because you need to solve the mystery points as quickly as possible. You need to get these clues done as quickly as possible. Because, like I said, if you lollygagging around and then you go and analyze something, you forgot to analyze something, next you know, like, oh crap, the mystery point now has 20, and yes, the mystery point has 20 points, and you have 1 turn left, and you have no one by it, you lose, and you have to restart over from the very first turn. And like I said, that's one point in investigation. Now, when you get done that investigation part, you go in what in Danganronpa is a trial system, but not really a trial system, and they just talk things out. So basically how they talk things out is they divulge all the clues that occurs inside each case, and then at the end, they decide who the culprit is. Wato goes and divulges who he believes the culprit is, and then you try and pin them down, that culprit, and then that person will admit if they did or yes, and then if they don't admit it, then you have to make sure that you hammer in your point or a specific clue maybe you or another detective has that points them to the thing, and then you accuse them, and then they did. And that's basically the point is, and the very point on this part is you have to get every question right. And the reason why you want to get every question right, because at the end of each chapter, you're actually graded by what answers you give out. There's an S rank to, like, if you fail, because you can fail this and you can restart from the very beginning, or you can restart from a certain point, the last point of you had. So, like, S point, you want to get S rankings and everything because they reveal the next chapter is what we call a residual thoughts, which basically uncovers backstory of each character in the game, and it's very important. That's when one of the trophy people to get S ranks to get residual thoughts in order to unlock the backstory. Each person on the detective page, and reveal their real names, because they actually reveal their real names. Their age gets revealed, and then additional information about them, and you get the trophy for revealing everyone's information. Also with the keywords, you want to go and get all the keywords to get a trophy for getting half the keywords, all the keywords, and then read all the keywords. And that's basically your gameplay. Now, there's variations of investigation gameplay, like for instance, there's machines that attack you, and therefore maybe you're trying to distract the machines, so you go and you have like, instead of 9, it's 5 hours to do, which is like 5 turns, so you're trying to just like cause a distraction, stuff like that. So that, like I said, they try to to do the gameplay in in a way to make sure it's not just, oh, you collect clues, mystery points, blah blah, a lot of talking. There's a lot of talking, but that is really the gameplay. Now, first goes with, and since that's the gameplay, we got story, which we're trying to find what we do. What are the positives and negatives? And I think most of the negative will come from the gameplay or lack of gameplay, because about 90% of the game is literally them just talking. And when they are just talking, that is a sort of like a negative way of the game. And when it's 10%, it's gameplay, and I understand you wanting to flourish the characters out, but there is need to be some like a balance. And in chapter 5 and 6, especially 6, actually 4, 5, and 6, because 4 has more gameplay. That gameplay, when I'm telling you about the machines trying to kill you, whatever. But yeah, they do try to kill you. It was a spoiler, but whatever. You know, and you combine the machines trying to kill you, and you try and solve a case at the same time. It's really annoying. And if you don't do it a certain way, you will lose. And I think that's bad. Where maybe I get you don't want to make games super simple in the investigation part, but I think it needs to have the right balance. And so I can see people getting frustrated. I actually got really frustrated in the second chapter of the game. Because the first chapter is only the tutorial level, and the tutorial level only shows you how to do the basic parts. And then the second chapter is like, well, what happens is you investigate a certain clue too early, the clue makes traps, and you have someone walking over a certain area, and they don't literally attack the trap, they will die, and then you will go and redo the whole thing, which is terrible. It's not good gameplay, and it's frustrating. Where it is X amount of hours in between, and most of the time you're not playing this game consecutively. But I just think that if I go into if you taught me certain things in the first chapter that's basic, you only do basic thing, you only play with the thing for like 10 minutes, and then you go, maybe you don't play for a certain amount of days after. Next, no, they we're going to throw in a trap. You're pretty screwed, and that sucks. That should not happen in a game. That you're getting frustrated because, like for me, I struggle because the inference part, I know I literally have to click on the mystery point. Oh, I forgot. More like I forgot. You have to click on the mystery point in order for me to make sure that I got the mystery point. And that I messed that up at least. That's at least 2 of my mess ups. I'm like, oh, I have to click on the inference. And like I said, once you go through the tutorial, there's not a section you're able to look at. You have to take down notes, or just just remember. And like I said, it's very frustrating in that part. Another mind-boggling game design. You cannot save during any point in the investigation phase, or when they talk it out. Now, they do give you a save point. They will ask you to save after you do an investigation, but the issue is that you literally cannot save during the points where you are talking to them. And I think that's a very bad thing. Let's say that you have a certain amount of hours playing this game, and maybe you're an investigation point. You're like, damn, I'm struggling at the investigation point, and next thing you know, you screwed up, and then you're like, well, now is like a point where maybe you just can't save and you have to do something else and you're just so screwed because the last save point you saved was, I don't know, um dialogue before, the dialogue way before the person died, so you have to redo all that dialogue. Now it does have that fast forward feature, which is actually quite simple, but again, it is very, it is not good game design to not have a save point, especially in the trial part of the game. Because the trial part is very important that you get an S point. So let's say that you do investigation, you save, and then the trial point, you cannot save trial point. You have to restart from the very beginning. Or if you mess up too many times, you can start from the last inference, but you probably want to start at the very beginning instead. And I think for some people, that might be really frustrating if you, especially for me in chapter 3, when I'm trying to do the trial part, when I visibly get frustrated because the for me, the murder case in that one is so asinine to me, and I just didn't like chapter 3 because that was one of the worst performing trial part of that game. Yeah, and how they do it. So I think in that on that same point, that's it. And actually, there's one last part, and I know the game's worth $40, so you can't ask for like too much. It's not, you're not asking 60. It's not a $60 game. It's not a $70 game. Otherwise, I would expect this to be inside the game. But with so much talking within the game, this game only has Japanese voice actors, which is fine. Problem is, there's no American voice acting, which I believe they could have done it because there's options to fix their voice acting. Some people are very loud. Some dialogue when they talk is very loud, but sometimes some characters are very low. And you can't understand. You can't hear what they're saying. Like Wato's voice. Wato's voice came like maybe 60% of the time it's fine, but the other 40% when he's like sad, depressed, and he's talking real low voice, like, oh, I can't understand what you're saying. Like, I can't understand what you're saying in Japanese. And so I think on that part, it's not. I just think that is not a good part. I think the way that their voice was recorded is not the same as anyone else's voice. I think that's a negative to someone who maybe wants to listen to voice acting in the game. It's a negative when you're trying to balance things out and you can't get the right balance because other people are loud, other people are soft, and it's not consistent voice. No one's voice is exactly the same in terms of like whether they're loud or quiet or just in the middle. I just think that it's inconsistent with um how is everything being reported for each part. I think all the actors do a very good job. Actresses do their good job with the game. I just think that at some points, like, you can't understand what they're saying, stuff like that. And some dialogue, they take way too long to talk about. Like, there's someone in the game actually speaks in third person the whole game, so they say the dialogue, and then they pause for like 3 seconds, and then they say the rest of the dialogue in third person. And that's kind of really annoying. I like that person in the game, but I think it's really annoying. I believe that's all my negatives in the game. Um, the positives in the game, because there are positives. I do like the story. The story's good. The story's great. Um, I think it sets the tone immediately when you first go into the game. And the first thing you go in the game is according to asking you which person do you hate more. And so when you go to the person they hate more, that person dies, and then he kills the other person anyways because you guys like this person, and everyone says no, and according to kills that person. So immediately on the outset, there is a fear within according to Duke, which is great. I think the atmosphere is great in the game. I think, like I said, the actors. I like the actors, actresses in the game to voice their characters. I like them. Um, I think for the most part, this game is a story-based game, and yes, the in general, without the BS levels that has, oh, a ram traps are set. Oh, you lose because ram traps are set. Oh, yeah, this thing is trying to kill you, and you don't know where to go, and you had nothing to protect you. You run into them, you die, and you automatically lose the game. So at that point, it's very frustrating and annoying, but the game itself is quite the game that other than that, I do like the gameplay. Even if the first chapter, second chapter, you don't realize what you're doing because it's very simple and maybe not really, it has some it has some little bit complexity, not too much, but I think in the future maybe they probably will simplify it if they try and make a second Process of Elimination because maybe I'm not going to spoil the ending, but it is a cliffhanger ending. You don't even know what happens. You just don't know what happens. I think I don't know. They're expecting to see what their sales is going to be of this game. I don't know. I haven't read anything what their sales is going to be, what their expectations are. If they're going to shatter or they're below it because it's only $40. So maybe they're hoping they're going to make a second game of this, but I don't know. It's one of those things where um, if there's not second into this and you have a cliffhanger ending, I think that's a bad taste in your mouth. Which I guess that is negative, but if this this part will depend on if they actually make a second game or not. Because based on that, they should have a second game. If not, that's not a good ending. So, but yeah, story's good, characters good. Um, the residual thoughts and main characters expand more. It's great. Um, I know I said there's a lot of negative, and that's mostly the gameplay. I think they refine and tune the gameplay a little bit more to a little more exciting, and maybe not have that much time of like in between that they're all just talking and they're just like, well, it's 3 hours later and there's no gameplay. Other than gameplay, every one people maybe don't play this game every day, and you take maybe like a week off or so, and maybe you play every like maybe every 2 or 3 days, and then you're just like, well, maybe I wish there was more gameplay. Um, I think at that point, um, this game, like I said, I like this game. The game's good. If I were to rate this game would be a 7.5 out of 10. I really do like the story. The story carries it hard. I think also too, what also carries the game is a price. Um, of $40. If this game was the $60-$70 range, it'll have to go down to like a 7 or 6.5 because there's not enough content in the game or gameplay wise that would hook that would make this game worth it to a $60-$70 game. It's just not. I think a perfect price point of this would have been if you make it $10 less. That would be great. If this was like in that 2 hour range. So that's why I believe it is it is a good game. I believe it is it doesn't reach a height yet in which people would go and make this game you would have this be a great game. It's a good game, but it's not great. But so I thank you for everyone who decided to watch this video. I know I've been rambling long. It's a long review and a lot of things to talk about in this base game review. But I don't know if I'm gonna do any edits. Like I haven't decided if I do or not. But I really hope you guys have a great day. Hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.